124-115, the Houston Rockets beat the Lakers, who start the LeBron era 0-2. A bunch to unpack from this, including a late game fight that got Rajon Rondo and Chris Paul ejected. They squared off on the floor at Staples. Brandon Ingram came in. He threw a punch as well. It was also ejected. Meanwhile, James Harden went for 36 in a win. Here he is with Doris Burke.
Can you give us some perspective from somebody who was between the lines of why it got so out of hand so quickly?
Honestly, I'm not sure. It escalated really, really quick, but besides that, I'm happy we got our first win. They'll handle that how it's supposed to be handled. For us as a basketball club, coming to LA on the road and get our first win is pretty cool.
Can you talk about the effort you got from P.J. Tucker? Because when action went back in, he makes a three, and what you asked of him on the defensive end.
Time to lock in. Time to lock in and get stops when we need to. I always got trust in my guys to make the big plays, make the big shots. And just like any other time, I'm going to pass it to PJ. He knocked down a big shot for us.
Down the stretch, as usual, you take over. Can you just talk about what you're thinking as the game is unfolding and possessions are important?
Winning time. Winning time. And I'm going to live with the shots that I take just because I work on them every single day. So, I shoot them, I make them, and we move on.
So the Rockets get the win. Lakers 0-2 now with LeBron, but everybody's going to be talking about the fight. And this may have begun, as you pointed out, with a call that went the Lakers' way on a LeBron James drive. P.J. Tucker picks up a foul on a play that looked like an offensive foul. Sort of thing happens, but this may have set the tone here.
I think just the inconsistency of the whistle from this point until the call that goes against Ingram, I think is one of the things that really sets all of this in motion. I don't believe we have Mike D'Antoni's reaction to this play. Mike was losing his mind on the bench, and I think his intensity that he brought to the situation also probably played a little bit of a role in hyping his team up.
Right.
Yeah, it's to James Harden's point, as you're watching the game, as we're trying to watch the game off to the side, the game's flowing, high scoring. Then I looked up and I said, it just stopped for like 4 or 5 minutes. And to your point, it seemed like from that play on, everything just slowed down because they had like 101 points with like 10 minutes to go. And then, like, wait a minute, what happened? What's wrong with the game? And then maybe this could be a point of it, Matt.
Yeah. There are all kinds of reports and theories flying about what started all this and where it came from. I just read somebody suggest that Rondo may have spat at Chris Paul. Don't know if that happened.
At the game, maybe?
Paul put his hand in Rondo's face, and we saw that. Yeah, that you can see, and then Rondo comes back with the punch. I wonder if Ingram, and I asked this a moment ago, I wonder if Ingram will be punished differently for entering as kind of the third guy in to throw a punch, because the other two were squared off, and they're going to be punished. Yes. They're both going to be suspended. But Ingram's act is a little different.
Yes, definitely. Well, Ingram's, in my opinion, there's two situations. When the referee came to him, the way he got in the referee's face, too, that's going to be very borderline. And obviously, getting in there and punching into the melee, he's definitely going to get some fine or suspension to that.
What happens within an organization? If you're on either side at this point, you're running a team. You see this happen on the floor. What happens for you? What's on your to-do list now over the next 12 hours?
Well, you're going to do everything you can to talk to the players involved and get their account of exactly what happened, because you want to be in front of hearing what they're going to share with the league investigators when they call. You want to always be a step ahead of this if you can be in any way. Obviously, with Kiki Vandeweghe being in the building tonight, we're told, he's going to have a little bit of a head start on the information gathering. But from a team standpoint, what you want to make sure you understand is what players are going to be saying, so that when you're talking to the league on their behalf, you're not saying something counter to what they're arguing.
All on the same page, yeah. And then in terms of the process, this is happening on a Saturday night. Penalties generally come out on Mondays. When would you expect to hear from the league in terms of the investigators and in terms of their decision?
Well, I think typically they'll take all of the next day to get in touch with everybody they need to get in touch with. That's not always an easy thing for the investigators to do.
Not to interrupt, do they call players directly?
Yes.
Does that go through a team?
The league investigators will call players directly. They will ask PR people, security people, et cetera, to put them in contact with them if they're having a hard time getting in touch with them directly. But they will absolutely speak directly to the players.
And that's likely to happen tomorrow?
Most likely tomorrow, and
Just
maybe
so late-
even
just so late
maybe
tonight
even
in LA.
Monday as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Late tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, yeah. Next couple days. And the Lakers play Monday, too, so I'm sure they're going to want to get some information out as soon as possible.
They will come out with something you would suspect before another Laker game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then the conversation with the league, is it Kiki or whoever's in that position who calls you?
Yeah, you end up speaking to Kiki. There are several people, I think, that make the decision, and Kiki would be part of that decision-making group. But Kiki is really the one that you communicate with on a regular basis.
All right. Here's Mike D'Antoni after it was all over, the basketball and the fighting in L.A.
James kind of takes over down the stretch.
Yeah, James was James. That's what he does, and I thought it was a great game in the sense of intensity and the quickness and how fast it was, and it was a good game. We held them, I think, to 18 points in the fourth quarter, so that was key, and hopefully we can build on that and do a better job as we keep going forward.
How did you see that altercation, particularly?
I saw it from a distance. I wasn't getting in there. I had glasses on. I couldn't go in there. Stuff like that. And the NBA will sort it out. It was some heated stuff, and I'm sure some spit was thrown, and when you cross the line, it happens. But the NBA will sort it out, and they'll do a good job at it.
You figure you don't have Chris tomorrow?
I don't know. I might rest him back to back. I don't know. We'll see what the NBA says.
What was it like seeing LeBron in a different uniform? And do you feel like you did a good job stopping, preventing him from becoming
Us?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, PJ does an unbelievable job. PJ's a bull, but LeBron's great. They're going to have a great year. It's a good team, and they played hard. And I thought we played exceptionally hard also. And James took over at the end, part of the difference. He made some shots, and he was who he is. And but they're going to have a nice future. It's good.
The coordination of helping PJ on LeBron and helping when there were switches. Was that what maybe was missing the first night?
Yeah, we weren't real sharp on a lot of things, and we didn't take the individual challenge the first night, and we had some slip up tonight. I mean, we can get a lot better, and we will. In the fourth quarter, we did, but we got to carry that all the way through the game, and it took us a while last year to get it under control, and but we'll get there with that.
Was the pace where you wanted tonight?
Oh yeah, and the pace, both teams I thought it was exceptional. It was good, real good.
There's not a lot of guys who can stand up to LeBron's physicality.
No, well, PJ, I would think. I don't know, but if anybody can, he has a better chance at than LeBron is. I mean, he's strong. Obviously, a heck of a player. All right, thanks, guys. Thank you.
Mike D'Antoni there, kind of nonplussed by the whole fighting part of the thing, other than to say he was going to stay out of it.
Not getting in there.
And they'll sort it out. In terms of the Lakers and the 0-2 record at this point, the three-point shooting, again, was not very good. I don't know that that's a huge surprise based on the roster at this point.
Right.
8 of 32. What, if anything, stands out to you about these two games?
We've been laughing all night about the defensive end of the floor. That's going to be when we figure out, or when Luke Walton figures out, when they find the right group to get some stops, then we'll start taking this team serious. We know they're going to be able to score. Obviously, Bron's a great passer. Once Rondo gets through what he's going through with this fight, we know he's a great facilitator. But we know the Rockets shoot a lot of threes, but other teams, too, that don't shoot threes, showing you this recipe that you're going to be able to score all night long.
Right. Here's Luke Walton in L.A.
The fight was unfortunate. I thought our guys did a nice job tonight of competing, and it's about we're still in this beginning stage, and I know we've been saying it the whole time, but we're getting better. We had another chance tonight. It's a close game against a really good team coming off a bad loss, and that's what we want, our chances, opportunities to win, and we've been there and had those both games. We haven't been able to finish the games off, but we've been there. So we'll get back. We'll keep working tomorrow on the little details I keep talking about, and it's going to work out for us just fine. So that would take any questions.
Luke, I think it was a one-point game when that happened. What did you see down the stretch after that point as you switched the rotations and everything?
I told the guys, look, fights happen in sports, but we gotta keep our composure, regain our composure, whatever it is. And we somewhat did, but they made a lot of shots down the stretch. They did. Harden hit a couple ones, and one possession we didn't finish off with a rebound that hurt. We missed a switching on a high pick and roll they ran, where we had a little confusion between two of our guys. So we didn't execute well enough to win that game down the stretch. But I thought our guys' heads were in the right place.
It seemed, Brandon, I don't think we see that kind of from him a lot. Did you sense that tensions were building up in the minutes beforehand, or did it seem as quick to you as it did to us?
There's always a little I'll have to watch more, but I only have our computer feed that I've seen so far. But the clothesline, like 3 minutes prior to that, I saw that, and I have zero idea how that's a flagrant one. The rule is he clotheslined our guy. He picked him up off his feet and slammed him on his back, and it was a flagrant one. So that's, to me, if I'm a player or a teammate, that's where, okay, that's only a flagrant one, then we can play a little more physical. But I didn't sense anything too crazy besides our guys were a little irritated that happened and he wasn't penalized more.
Coach, just moments like that when you were a player, does it galvanize a lot? Can moments like that kind of bring players closer? I know it's very, very early, but just in general?
It can. It has before. I will hope, I'd hope it has that impact on our guys. As not the main thing that brings us together, but it's part of the journey that we're on. It's road trips. It's, those type of incidents that, will bring a team closer together. But for us, it's, our chemistry's been good. It's about getting better at the games and getting better in our coverages and getting better in our execution. That's what's gonna start allowing us to get over the hump in these close games.
What was your reaction to the interaction, both ways, between Rondo and Chris Paul?
Honestly, I didn't see it happening. I saw him get into it. The refs were there. I figured at that point it was broken up. I started, getting to my board to think of what play we wanted to, run. If we were going to make any substitutions, things like that. And then when I looked back up, there was, mayhem going on. But so I didn't see how the whole thing escalated.
Did Rondo just leave the court after it happened?
Well,
they stick around for a little bit?
I don't know the answer to that. My coaches told me that he had thrown a punch, so my assumption was he was going to be ejected. But even that, I wasn't told. What I just heard on the loudspeaker, and then get your subs in. I didn't know who was ejected, who wasn't. I'm trying to figure out subs. I don't even know who's still in the game or not. But it's more about us. It's more about what we need to get better at, and we'll get back after it tomorrow.
What did you see out of Lonzo tonight?
He was good. That's what we need out of him. I feel like when he just lets, when he stops thinking and just plays, he's brilliant. Some of those rebounds he was flying in and getting, some of those passes and plays he was making, the threes he was knocking down. That's the beauty of his game, is when he's playing like that. So it was good to see and it was fun to watch.
Do you think a lot of that is just because he's getting more comfortable with everyone in his second year?
Alonzo, yeah, he missed. However many months, the whole summer, the whole offseason he missed. So this is, he's been, playing again since training camp. But it takes a while to get a feel, and then we got a whole new team. So it's now all of a sudden I got to, see how to play with guys, figure that whole thing out. And it's how it works in sports. It just takes time.
Luke, LeBron played a little bit of the 5 tonight. Is that a look that we can expect regularly, or was that just that Houston went really small?
Houston was small, and we've been trying to try some different things out. But Houston, they're switching 1 through 5 everything. They got Tucker as their 5-man, so it's not really, I mean, call it a 5. It's whether LeBron's playing our 3 or he's playing our 5, Tucker's guarding him and he's guarding Tucker, so it doesn't really matter who's at what number there.
Thank you, everyone.
Laker head coach Luke Walton, who, if I understood him correctly, said he didn't really see the punch because he thought a timeout was coming and he was going to try to figure out what's next in the game. And next thing he knows, he's lost 2 players. He referenced a clothesline that happened a few minutes before the incident, and which would have been a few minutes after the LeBron play we talked about earlier. And there it is. That's James Ennis taking down Josh Hart. And that was ruled a flagrant 1. Around the neck.
It's like a horse collar.
There's no play on the ball at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously it's unnecessary contact, which meets the standard for a flagrant 1. It strikes me as it's got to be unnecessary and excessive as well, because there's no play. There's not a basketball play happening there.
Not at all. Versus when you try to grab someone, Matt, going to a play, you're literally grabbing them.
Right.
You're trying to hold them, not let them go up. Referees, we've seen that. But when you just kind of grab a guy going full speed around the neck, you're not even going for the ball, now you can see why the emotions escalate.
And paired with that play we showed earlier, the LeBron play with P.J. Tucker, both teams got what they felt like was an unfair whistle in a very physical situation. And again, things escalate from there, and that's not uncommon. Now, obviously, a full-fledged fight breaking out is fairly uncommon.
Yeah. Yeah, that one is surprising that that's not a flagrant 2. Because even when guys are wrapped up, it's often a flagrant 1 because that's unnecessary contact.
Exactly.
Not a basketball play, but you're not taking a guy down by the neck.
And then most guys aren't going to overreact because they know when you're trying to grab them, you're trying to save them, versus that one.
Right.
You know, a lot of crazy things can happen in that situation.
And the other thing I think of, LeBron wore the microphone for us in the TNT game on Thursday night, and one of the things they picked up was if you fall down, stay down, one of your brothers will pick you up.
Right.
LeBron and Rondo are trying to help these young kids understand what it means to be a band of brothers out there.
Right.
And I think Brandon Ingram is trying to do his part to represent that. And he's trying to show that he has that level of fight in his dog. And I think it's meaningful for the Lakers. And I think Luke, when cooler heads prevail and everybody looks back at this, Luke's going to feel pretty good about how quickly this team is gelling.
Interesting. Can this, you've been through a situation like this where this can bring people together? I mean, you don't want to see it happen this way, but.
Matt, you never want to see the fight, but to Griff's point, to see guys willing to cross that line in the heat of the battle early in the season, knowing that you have these veterans coming to this young team trying to teach them how to get to the promised land. Rondo's been there. Obviously, LeBron's been there. Lance Stevenson's been there deep in the playoffs. So trying to that point, get that in them and bring it out. Yes, you don't want the fight, but you like to see the toughness.
Much will also be made of LeBron kind of taking Chris Paul aside as well. They're obviously on different sides of this, but good friends.
And before the game, you saw the LeBron, Chris Paul handshake they've been doing for the last, what, 5 or 6 years they've been doing it.
Right.
So that people will play into that too. But at the end of the day, to see both sides show some emotion early in the season, and let's just go ahead and call it what it is. LeBron has brought some extra excitement to L.A. they haven't seen in a long time.
Well, tonight Rondo brought some extra excitement to L.A. that they haven't seen in a long time as well. I don't know who we're going to hear from, who's going to speak. I wouldn't expect we'll hear from Rondo or Chris Paul tonight, but
maybe
we could. We do expect to hear from LeBron at some point.
You know, one of the things that's really unfortunate about the fight and for it to be this much of a focal point is that you really don't focus as much on the game itself and what the Lakers have done in these first couple games. What I think is fascinating is they've made a real concerted effort to attack the rim every possession. They've got 138 points in the paint in 2 games, 68 here tonight, 70 in game 1, but they've been outscored by 42 points collectively from the three-point line. And again, this is a very simple analytics calculus. You are way more efficient shooting threes at 33% than you are when you shoot twos at anything below 50, and even then it's a wash, right? So the Lakers are shooting 58.8% from 2. it's not enough to overcome the discrepancy in shooting. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how this team evolves, because unless their identity becomes one of we run off of stops and that's how we generate our pace and tempo, they're not going to be able to defend at the pace they're playing the game at.
Right. The 2-for-3 swap will not work for them if they're not defending at an elite level. Looks like, assuming Rondo's facing a suspension, which I think is probably pretty safe to say, Lonzo Ball's going to likely be starting for this team again, as the point guard had a good night tonight offensively for the Lakers, especially shooting the basketball. 4 of 8 from three-point range. He had 14 points, also had 4 assists, and so now there appears there's going to be at least a short Lonzo starting phase here for the Lakers.
Tonight, for me, guys, it was the first time we saw him, to Luke's point, play just kind of freely. In the few games you saw him play in college, you saw him, even though we know the shot's not pretty, but when you shoot the ball with confidence, I think Reggie Miller said it Thursday night, even his shot wasn't the prettiest, but when you shoot the ball with confidence, you find a certain rhythm and you shoot it the same way every time, it starts to go in. Tonight was the first time I actually seen him shoot the ball with confidence.
Yeah, and again, I think this is a situation where there's a lot of room for growth in all of these players, and I think you're going to start to see that over time, and it's just a shame, again, that all of this becomes so much the focal point that you don't think about what's really gone on from a basketball perspective tonight.
Right. Rockets hit 16 of 42 from three-point range. Harden with 36, Paul with 28 before his ejection. Rockets get the win, and the Lakers are off to an eventful 0-2 start in the LeBron James era in Los Angeles.